It started with a simple jar of skin cream, sold from the back of a beauty salon. Today, it's a $77.56 billion beauty empire, behind some of the most iconic brands in the world. From Hollywood red carpets to luxury malls in Paris. From New York boardrooms to Shanghai boutiques. The name Estée Lauder is everywhere. But behind the glamour is a story the world rarely tells. They looked at her and saw nothing, just a poor immigrant's daughter, born in a cramped apartment in Queens. No wealth, no connections, no fancy degree, no mentor. Just hands, small hands, mixing creams in the back of a hardware store. And a dream far too big for the world she was born into. While other girls dreamed of weddings, security, and comfort, she dreamed of something else. Power. Not the power to command armies, but the power to change how a woman feels when she looks in the mirror. But the world doesn't forgive women who dare to dream this big. The doors were closed. The boardrooms were filled with men in suits. Men who laughed. You sell luxury? Who do you think you are? And yet, she waited, sat outside offices for hours, ignored, mocked, rejected, but never defeated, because while they saw a woman selling jars of cream, she was selling more than that. Selling confidence, selling power. One touch, one face, one woman at a time. She made the invisible feel seen, the overlooked feel powerful, and the forgotten unforgettable. From a kitchen stove, with no investors, no funding, no backing, to the grand shelves of Harrods, Saks, Neiman Marcus, Macy's, and every luxury store on earth. Her name, Estée Lauder. And this isn't just the story of a beauty brand. It's the story of rebellion. In a world that tried to erase her, a question still remains: did she change the world? Through brilliance, or through branding? This is the untold rise of Estée Lauder. Before the red carpets, before the luxury counters, before her name was whispered in every beauty hall in the world, there was a girl the world had already written off as invisible. Her name wasn't Estée Lauder, not yet. She was born Josephine Esther Mentzer on July 1, 1906, in Corona, Queens, one of the toughest, noisiest, grittiest corners of New York City. Her parents were Jewish immigrants, survivors of another world. Her father, Max Mentzer, came from Czechoslovakia. Her mother, Rose Scots, from Hungary. Like millions before them, they arrived in America chasing a lie they desperately hoped was true, the American dream. But reality? 8 kids, 1 bathroom, no luxury, no mercy. The family ran a small hardware store, scrubbing to survive one day at a time. Every creaky floorboard whispered the same cruel message: this isn't a place for dreams. This is a place to survive. But not for her. If the world wouldn't hand her magic, she would learn how to make it. While other girls practiced piano and prayed for husbands, young Esther watched her mother brush her hair each night, long, slow strokes, massaging oils into her scalp like it was a sacred ritual. And something clicked. This wasn't just beauty. This was a transformation. But the true spark arrived wearing a dusty lab coat, her mysterious uncle, Dr. John Scots, a traveling chemist. Part scientist, part magician. Entirely fascinating. His lab wasn't in a fancy building. It was in the cluttered backroom of their home, a wonderland of bubbling jars, strange perfumes, powders, oils, and whispered recipes. To everyone else, it was a mess. To her, it was a laboratory of miracles. She learned the difference between a cream that sat on the skin and a cream that changed it. between a fragrance that faded and one that left a memory. She wasn't mixing lotions. She was mixing rebellion. Against poverty. Against invisibility. Against a world that expected immigrant girls to stay small, stay silent. By the time other girls were practicing handwriting or baking bread, she was practicing the secret chemistry of beauty, balancing lanolin with lavender, adding texture, tweaking absorption, testing glow. Her mantra was simple. I wasn't born with money. I was born with an obsession. But obsession? Not enough for the world she was born into. Her family tried to pull her back. No decent woman touches strangers' faces. Find a husband. Stay home. Be small. But the fire inside her didn't whisper. It screamed. You were made for more. And so, while others dreamed of comfort, security, and quiet lives, Estée stood over a cluttered kitchen table, with scales, jars, pots of cream, and mixed something far more dangerous than lotions.
And I cried many times because, I said, I just don't know how long I could do this, and I want to be successful, and I have the creams, and I have this and that, and I cried when I couldn't get into a store that I wanted. I just wanted that store. It would mean a lot to me.
The year was 1930. At just 24 years old, Josephine Esther Mentzer became something bigger. She became Estée Lauder. After marrying Joseph Lauder, their tiny apartment wasn't just home. It was a dream factory. But dreams don't pay rent. And the Great Depression? It didn't care about ambition. It crushed businesses. It shattered futures. By day, Estée was a housewife, cooking, cleaning, raising her son. But by night, her kitchen became her lab. Her stove was a manufacturing line. Her mixing bowls weren't for bread, they were for beauty. With jars wrapped in plain paper and tied with scrap ribbons, Estée marched to every salon, boutique, and department store in New York. Her pitch: I have the finest cream in the world. The response? Slammed doors. Mockery. Silence. One buyer sneered, "Go home. Be a good housewife. This isn't for women like you." She flipped the rules. Instead of wasting her savings on ads, she gave it away. Tiny samples, slipped into hands at salons, cafes, street corners. Try it once. If it doesn't change your skin, never buy from me again. 1 jar became 3. 3 became 10. 10 became an army of believers, of loyalists. Then came the moment that changed everything. Saks Fifth Avenue. She waited in the lobby for hours. Refused to leave. When the buyer finally agreed to try her cream, she looked in the mirror and froze. What did you do to me? I look incredible. Result? $800 order. Sold out in 2 days. Suddenly, rejection became a demand. Stores that had laughed now lined up. But Estée had more than products. She had a new way to sell beauty. Gift with purchase. In-store demonstrations. Personal consultations. By the late 1950s, Estée Lauder wasn't just a name. It was a revolution. A movement. A symbol of beauty. And a woman's refusal to accept limits. But behind the polished counters and glossy ads, the real war was just beginning. The year was 1953, and Estée Lauder wasn't just thinking about skincare anymore. She had her eyes set on something bigger, bolder, unthinkable. Fragrance. But not just any fragrance. Back then, perfume was a man's gift to a woman. Women didn't buy perfume for themselves. They waited for permission. And Estée? She thought that was nonsense. Her answer was wrapped in a small, innocent-looking bottle called Youth Dew. But here's the twist: it wasn't sold as a perfume. It was disguised as a bath oil that doubled as a fragrance. Priced at just $8.50, it shattered the barrier between luxury and accessibility. Now, women could walk into a store, pick it up, and say out loud, "I deserve this." And when it hit the shelves, boom! Youth Dew exploded. It didn't just sell, it rewrote the rules. 4 years, it accounted for a jaw-dropping 80% of the company's sales. Estée had unlocked something dangerous: self-purchase power. And once that door opened, the world couldn't close it again. But success, it's never free. As her empire soared, so did the pressure. Competitors circled like sharks. Giants like Revlon, Elizabeth Arden, Helena Rubinstein, all sharpened their knives. In Europe, resistance was brutal. Buyers scoffed, "We don't have space. You're not Chanel. You're not Dior." But they made one fatal mistake: they underestimated the woman who built an empire out of jars, grit, and charm. When Harrods in London rejected her, Estée didn't argue. She didn't beg. Instead, as legend has it, she accidentally spilled a bottle of Youth Dew on the floor. The fragrance floated through the air. Customers stopped, sniffed, whispered, "What is that smell? Where can I buy it?" Within days, Harrods gave her the shelf space she demanded. And in Paris, at Galeries Lafayette, the same relentless playbook. Persistence, tactics, charm, whatever it took. But Estée's real brilliance wasn't just in selling products. It was selling something far more powerful. She sold dreams. Her counters weren't just places to buy lipstick or creams. They were transformation stations, where women felt seen, valued, beautiful. While others spent millions on ads, Estée doubled down on what worked: samples, personal touch, word of mouth. Her belief: if you touch her face, you touch her heart. And it wasn't just a slogan. It was her battle strategy. Estée personally traveled store to store, standing behind her counters, applying creams, teaching women how to glow. Then came her next revolutionary move, a step the industry never saw coming. She launched Hermès, one of the world's first prestige men's skincare and fragrance lines. Then in 1968, she unleashed a skincare revolution: Clinique. Fragrance-free, allergy-tested. It was clean. It was clinical. It was decades ahead of its time. Her empire wasn't just growing, it was dominating. But the bigger she got, the more the industry panicked. Buyout offers flooded in. "Sell to us," they said. "It's too hard to compete alone." Her answer: "Why don't we buy you instead?" She refused to back down. But make no mistake, it came at a price. The constant flights, the endless pressure, the relentless expectations. But behind the magazine covers, behind the dazzling smiles, her health, her marriage strained, her time with her children stolen by her obsession with perfection. Every store opening, every product formula, every ad, every font, every color, her hands were on it. Estée wasn't selling creams. She was selling confidence. She was selling control. She was selling freedom. By the late 1970s, Estée Lauder wasn't just a brand, it was a global force. But Estée, she wasn't done. Not even close. She had mastered the art of selling creams, fragrances, and dreams. Now, her vision expanded beyond products. She wanted to build something far bigger. The 1980s brought new challenges. The world was changing. Beauty wasn't just about a single brand anymore. It was about owning entire categories. And Estée was ready. In 1994, the company made its boldest leap into color cosmetics with the acquisition of MAC Cosmetics, starting with a 51% stake and completing full ownership by 1998. MAC was rebellious, edgy, makeup artist-driven, the opposite of traditional beauty. But Estée saw what others didn't. This was the future of makeup. Just a year later, in 1995, she added Bobbi Brown Cosmetics to the empire, a counterpoint to MAC's boldness, offering a vision of natural, skin-like beauty. In 1997, hair care entered the empire. Aveda, a pioneer in plant-based, eco-conscious hair products, became part of the family. By 1999, the empire pushed into ultra-luxury fragrances with Jo Malone London, famous for its minimalist bottles, elegant scents, and layering philosophy. But prestige skincare was still a crown jewel Estée wanted. So came the acquisition of La Mer, the legendary brand built around its iconic Miracle Broth Moisturizer, a luxury staple worldwide. She wasn't just building a beauty company. She was building a beauty dynasty. By the early 2000s, Estée Lauder's shelves stretched across every continent. And yet, the world was changing. Beauty was fragmenting into niche subcultures, indie fragrances, Korean skincare, wellness-driven products. In 2005, they acquired Bumble & Bumble, an edgy, salon-first haircare brand adored by stylists and celebrities. Then came the fragrance revolution. In 2015, Estée Lauder went all in on artisanal, hyper-luxury scents. Le Labo, the cult favorite fragrance house, known for hand-blended, lab-labeled perfumes. Editions de Parfums Frederic Malle, where legendary perfumers were given complete creative freedom to craft olfactory masterpieces. Kilian Paris, where fragrance wasn't just a scent, it was seduction wrapped in luxury. The empire didn't miss the skincare wave either. That same year, they invested in Dr. Jart Plus, the Korean skincare pioneer famous for BB creams, Cicapair, and science-driven formulas. And in 2021, came a seismic shift, the acquisition of Deciem, the parent company of The Ordinary, the brand that flipped the skincare world upside down with its radically affordable, transparent, science-backed products. But this wasn't just about the big names. The empire expanded into every corner of the beauty universe. Darphin Paris, the botanical skincare line rooted in French apothecary traditions. Lab Series, one of the first skincare brands exclusively for men. Glam Glow, the viral skincare sensation loved for its Hollywood favorite mud masks. Smashbox, born in the photo studios of LA, bringing camera-tested, photo-ready makeup to the masses. Tom Ford Beauty, where modern glamour meets sensuality, redefining luxury makeup and fragrance for a new generation. Erin Beauty, the elegant lifestyle and fragrance brand founded by Estée's granddaughter, Erin Lauder. But even that wasn't the end. In 2022, the empire expanded into luxury fashion beauty with Balmain Beauty. From a single counter at Saks to an empire in over 150 countries, spanning fragrance, skincare, makeup, and hair care, from New York to Paris, London to Shanghai, Dubai to Tokyo, the world wore Estée Lauder. But behind the silk-wrapped products and the gold-trimmed counters was a fight few ever saw. Competitors mocked her. The boardroom dismissed her. She was called the word society reserves for powerful women who refused to shrink, difficult, obsessed, arrogant. But instead of breaking her, those words fueled her. When buyout offers came, even from giants like Revlon, her response was legendary: "Why don't we buy you instead?" In 1995, after ruling the beauty world for decades, Estée Lauder companies went public on the New York Stock Exchange. But despite becoming a global corporate powerhouse, it remained a family empire at heart. Estée had already begun passing the torch, first to her sons, Leonard and Ronald Lauder, and later to her grandson William Lauder. Their mission? To protect the legacy and prepare it for the future. But this wasn't just about creams and counters anymore. It was about leaving a global impact. In 1993, Evelyn Lauder, Estée's daughter-in-law, founded the Breast Cancer Research Foundation, one of the most influential philanthropic initiatives in the beauty industry. In the 2020s, While most companies scrambled to understand the digital world, Estée Lauder companies were already thriving in it. AI-powered skin analysis, virtual try-on tools for lipsticks, live stream shopping, from Shanghai to New York, TikTok marketing and influencer-led brand growth. But digital wasn't enough. The new generation demanded sustainability, ethics, transparency, and the Lauder empire listened. They committed to carbon neutrality by 2025. Despite being a public company, one thing didn't change: control. The Lauder family still holds significant voting power, ensuring that Estée's founding values, resilience, elegance, and audacity, remain the beating heart of the company. From a tiny kitchen in Queens to the runways of Paris, the mega malls of Dubai, and the live stream feeds of Shanghai, this wasn't just a business. It was, and still is, a masterclass in reinvention, and for anyone who has ever been told you can't, the legacy of Estée Lauder answers loud and clear: watch me. In the end, this wasn't just the story of a beauty brand. It was the story of a woman who refused to accept limits, of class, of gender, of circumstance. A girl from Queens, born to immigrants, who turned rejection into resilience. She didn't just sell creams. She sold confidence, power, freedom. And every jar, every fragrance, every lipstick carried more than color. It carried her fight, her belief, her legacy. Today, the Estée Lauder name stretches across the world, from the boardrooms of New York to the runways of Paris, from the beauty counters in Tokyo to millions of vanities in homes worldwide. A brand, yes, but also a reminder that when the world tells you you're too small, too loud, too difficult, you look them straight in the eye and answer like Estée did: watch me. Because her story isn't just history, it's a blueprint.